Have you ever really stopped to think about what your air conditioner is up against every day? I mean, it's way more than just the heat. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret life of your AC and uncover the absolute battle it's fighting, especially in those places we love to call paradise.
It kind of feels backward, doesn't it? You're living in this beautiful, warm paradise, but that very environment is just brutal on the machine that keeps you comfortable. So let's dive in and break down exactly why these systems have it so rough.
To really get this, let's look at a place like Miami. It's the perfect case study. The climate there creates what you could call a relentless gauntlet for any HVAC system, and it pushes these machines to their absolute mechanical limit.
Okay, so first up is just the sheer relentless workload. Think about it this way. In a more moderate climate, your AC gets a nice, long vacation during the fall and winter. But down here? Nope. It's like a marathon runner that has no off-season. And all that constant stress and wear just dramatically shortens the life of every single part inside.
It's really a deadly combination of four key things. First, that year-round operation we just talked about. Second, the intense UV rays from the sun are literally baking and breaking down the plastic parts on your outdoor unit. Third, if you're anywhere near the coast, that salty air is constantly working to corrode the metal coils. And finally, that sky-high humidity forces the system to work overtime, not just cooling the air, but also pulling gallons and gallons of water out of it.
And get this, the attack isn't just coming from the air. In a place like South Florida, the ground itself is part of the problem. That unique limestone bedrock, when you combine it with all that humidity, creates the absolute perfect breeding ground for algae to grow like crazy inside the condensate lines, and that leads to some really frequent and stubborn clogs.
So with all these things constantly hammering your AC unit, it's really no surprise that certain parts are way more likely to fail. Let's walk through the most common issues you're likely to see, because knowing what to look for, that can be the difference between a simple fix and a total system meltdown.
All right, first up, the frozen coil. This is a classic. If you ever see a block of ice on your indoor unit, that's just a symptom. The real cause is almost always one of two things: either a dirty, clogged filter that's choking off the airflow or a refrigerant leak. Just letting it thaw out won't fix anything. You have to fix that root cause to get the cooling back for good.
Remember how your AC is pulling all that water out of the air? We're talking gallons a day. All that water has to go somewhere, and it exits through a little drain pipe. Well, that pipe is a dark, wet, perfect home for algae. When it clogs up, the water has nowhere to go but back into your house, which can cause some serious water damage or just trip a safety switch and shut the whole system down. Now, refrigerant leaks are sneaky because they don't cause a sudden failure. It's more of a slow, gradual decline in how well your AC cools. Tiny little pinhole leaks develop from all that constant vibration and the corrosive salt air. And this is why just topping off the refrigerant is a total waste of money. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a leaky pipe. A real pro will use special tools to actually find the leak and repair it permanently. This one really shows how a tiny, cheap part can bring the whole system to a grinding halt. Capacitors and contactors, they're basically the little electrical parts that give your system's motors the jolt they need to get started. The intense, non-stop heat in these climates just cooks them, and they fail fast. If you ever hear your AC humming but the fan or compressor isn't actually kicking on, one of these is almost always the culprit.
Okay, so we've seen all the bad news, all the ways your system can fail. Now for the good news. Let's talk solutions. What should you actually expect when a pro shows up at your door? Let's take a peek inside the technician's playbook and demystify the whole process.
Look, a good service call shouldn't be complicated or mysterious. It really just boils down to a simple three-step process. Step 1, you schedule the call. Step 2, the technician figures out the problem and gives you a clear, written estimate before doing any work. And Step 3, after the fix, they test everything to make sure it's running perfectly and follow up. That's it. It should be that straightforward.
The days of a technician just kind of guessing are over. The pros use some really cool tech now to get it right the first time. They use digital manifolds for super precise pressure readings, thermal cameras that let them literally see heat and airflow problems, and electronic sniffers to find those tiny refrigerant leaks. It's all about eliminating the guesswork so you get an accurate diagnosis and that clear written estimate. It keeps you in control.
Okay, now for the big one. The question every single homeowner with an older AC has to face. Should I repair it again, or is it finally time to replace the whole thing? Let's talk about a simple but really powerful rule of thumb that can help you make that stressful decision with a lot more confidence. It's called the $5,000 rule, and it's a fantastic little bit of math to guide you. All you do is multiply the cost of the repair by the age of your AC in years. If that number comes out to more than $5,000, it's probably a sign that it's time to start looking at a new system. This rule is all about helping you avoid throwing good money after bad on a unit that's just at the end of its life.
So let's see how this actually works with a couple of quick examples. Say you have a 10-year-old system and the repair is going to cost $400. Well, 400 times 10 is 4,000. That's less than 5,000, so the rule says go ahead and repair it. But now let's say your system is 16 years old and needs a $350 repair. 350 times 16 is $5,600. Since that's over the 5,000 threshold, it's a pretty strong signal that it's time to replace.
And hey, if the rule does tell you it's time to replace, there's actually a pretty big silver lining. Right now, you could get a federal tax credit of up to $2,000 for installing a new, high-efficiency system. That's a huge help with the upfront cost, and it's definitely something you want to ask your installer about.
All right, let's wrap this up with the best strategy of all: how to stay ahead of the game and avoid that awful, panicked emergency call in the first place. This is your proactive plan to extend your system's life, save you money, and save you a whole lot of stress.
When you look at it this way, the choice is, well, it's pretty clear, right? Proactive maintenance is planned. It's way more affordable, it catches small problems before they become big ones, and it gives you peace of mind. On the other hand, reactive repairs are always unplanned, always expensive, and they always happen at the most stressful and miserably uncomfortable times.
So here's your simple, proactive checklist. Get tune-ups twice a year, in the spring and fall, to catch problems early. Get those coils cleaned professionally so your system can breathe easy. Treat the drain line to prevent those nasty clogs. Have a pro inspect the electrical parts to spot failing capacitors. And make sure the refrigerant level is correct so you're not losing cooling power. See? These steps directly fight all the common failures we just talked about.
And here's one last little insider tip for you. If you know you're going to need a new AC soon, the smartest time to buy it is in the off-season. Think October through December. Demand is way lower, which means you'll probably get a much better price and have an easier time scheduling the installation than if you wait for a mid-July heat wave. So after all this, after seeing the constant stress, the common failures, and thinking about the age of your own system, you got to ask yourself, is my AC ready for the next brutal heat wave, or is it a ticking time bomb? Now you know what to look for, and the choice and the peace of mind are all yours.